And with that, everyone, we can actually talk about Ant-Man Quantumania. Matt and I both got a chance to see it. I saw it on Friday, which is good because it means I didn't have to rush home to talk about it for the show. And also, I don't know if you heard this, Matt, but a lot of the critics who actually got to see it early, they got like emails being like, look, you can review the movie, but you can't talk about this, this, and this, which has never happened before for these Marvel movies where they actually kind of got gag ordered on some certain spoilers.
I'm guessing the post credits.
I can only assume because beyond that, that's really the only
Yeah,
big twist thing that happens.
yeah. Though they didn't want anyone to reveal that Greg Turkington was back.
Yeah, can't reveal that. The what a fun scene when it was. In fact, that's the thing that I guess we'll talk about as we enter Ant-Man and talk about Quantumania in depth. There, way more legacy gags and way more connections to the other movies than AI was expecting, and B, more than any of the other Marvel movies. This one really, really, leaned on the fact where it's like, look, you saw the other two, right?
Yeah. Oh, as well as you have to remember as well, it's also going to be the first film to build up towards Kang Dynasty and Secret
Yeah.
Wars and everything, and as well as the first time Ant-Man has actually had some like pull in the game, more or less.
Yes.
Like he's actually being a part of the build up to it, whereas the last two movies really
He's
weren't.
always the blow off.
Yeah.
He's always the blow off to the big Avenger events. And I have to wonder too, as I sat here and watched this movie, there was a whole part in the middle, and I'm sure you felt it too, where it's like, oh, they filmed this during COVID. Oh, there's a lot of reverse shot going on here. Oh, there's a lot of people weren't on set at the same time in this.
Mhm.
And there's a point where it's like, wait, we're this late in the movie and Kang hasn't showed up yet. Was Kang's supposed to be like a secret villain in this, and MODOK was supposed to be the main villain, and then they changed it and actually flipped it.
I think Kang was always meant to be in there, but I think what it was that they were trying to build him up. Whereas,
Yes,
like, because they keep calling it, they don't call him Kang at first; they just call him the Conqueror,
the
or
Conqueror.
him,
Yeah,
and they keep building that up throughout the film until he appears. But
yeah,
I think they needed to do it a little bit more.
they very shark in jaws it, no doubt about it. And I will say, all the reviews you've heard are right. Jonathan Majors is great in the role. He
Hmm.
kills it. It's completely different from the version that he played, or the variant, I should say, in the Loki show. He's making a feast of this, and he gets a really cool, like down and dirty, fight with Paul Rudd himself near the end of the movie, where I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's just them knocking the shit out of each other.
Yeah, it's pleasantly surprising.
He gets to show off at least one of his arms where it's like, yeah, I got into Creed shape for this.
They
Look
could
at my
only
big
show
arm.
they could only show off one. They couldn't fit both of them in camera shot.
It's too big, too
Yeah, too
big.
big. Yeah.
He's as big as all outdoors. IMAX couldn't even contain all that beef that he worked for, and good on you, sir, for doing that. I almost looked the other day, I'm like, Jonathan Majors workout, and it's like, you're never going to be able to fucking do that, Joel. What are you talking about? You'll never get Jonathan Majors shredded. This dude literally worked out like it was his job, because it was.
Yeah, and I'm also fairly certain he probably had some medical help, as it were,
As
there in the needle variety.
you mean to tell me that people don't get that big and strong just with green vegetables, prayer, and homework? You mean to tell me there's a pharmaceutical side to big massive muscle gain? Next, you're gonna tell me the Liver King is on the friggin' juice too.
No, he's completely natural. Yeah,
Completely
his
natural, yes,
guts
absolutely.
blowing out of the abs. That's completely natural. Yeah,
Doesn't touch the stuff,
yeah,
brother.
yeah.
But yeah, so what is really interesting about this movie to me, like thematically and structure wise, is the trailer really sold it, as you said, like it's the biggest Ant-Man movie ever. He has more stake in the game than ever before. But then I watched the movie, and the movie itself actually goes out of its way to reestablish that Scott Lang is kind of the Marvel Universe's ultimate everyman, more so than even Peter Parker in a lot of ways, because
Hmm.
he's a guy who goes and gets coffee and has family dinners and has to bail his daughter out of prison when she's acting up. Being a superhero has actually afforded him very little.
Yeah, which is really strange when I saw like some of the criticisms on the film where they didn't like that it was like not like the last two, whereas when those last two
It
came
kind
out
of
they
is,
didn't.
though.
Yeah, well that's it. Yeah, it kind of is. Whereas when the last two came out, they didn't like that it wasn't like the other Avengers films and was a palate cleanser.
Mm,
They flip and flop all the time. But
yeah.
Yeah, no, but it very much is like those last two. It's just, yeah, just they have a slightly bigger staked villain.
Yeah, they just transplanted it someone else. But yeah, this is very much like those other Ant-Man movies. It's Scott Lang, this lovable schlub, trying to make his life work. He's written a book now, which I love. The book has been a running theme now. We saw
Mhm.
that in the Miss Marvel show, and now we're seeing it here, him actually reading excerpts from it.
Apparently, that's actually going to be a book you can buy.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I want to read that.
Yeah.
I want to read that. Another thing too, and I keep mentioning how the trailer kind of in many ways sold a different movie than we got. This one blew my mind. Obviously, the thing that I kept coming back time and time to again is Kang talking to who I assume to be Scott, saying, do this for me, and I'll give you more time with your daughter. I'll make up for all the time that you lost. Yeah, Kang's not talking to Scott when he says that. He's talking to Janet.
Yeah, he does say something similar to Scott, but yeah, it's they really focus on the Janet Kang relationship
Relation.
because Janet's the one who finds him when he crash lands in the quantum realm.
Yeah, she had a whole secret history with Kang. That was the reason she was afraid of them ever going back or ever communicating with him. Janet has a lot to do in this movie. She's basically the other main character.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I was not expecting her to get that much to do, but then it's like, yeah, well, you spent the whole movie getting her back. You might as well give her more to do.
It's 2023 and both Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer are like the leads in two superhero films.
What a world, right? The more things change, the more they say the shame. Like, shit, Janet did so much. I'm like, you could probably have just lost Wasp, actually. Wasp doesn't actually add much. She shoots and she helps in the action scenes.
Yes, Wasp disappeared when she went to go and get her COVID vaccine, or not get her COVID vaccine.
Yeah, not get it. Yeah, she was driving truck apparently somewhere in Ontario. Ooh, man, can I say, like, when I was seeing it, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to see this fucking movie with Evangeline Lilly, who was supporting all those goddamn terrorists. Here's the best part. On the day I went to go see it, on the Friday, the big commission came in here in Canada and being like, yep, Trudeau was totally, valid in his actions of, rounding those people up and doing the emergency measures and everything. And I'm like, cool. I'm enjoying this movie knowing that Evangeline Lilly is probably very sad right now. I'm loving this movie that much more, imagining how sad she must be. But yes, she doesn't all have that much to do. Douglas is good. He actually has a whole little runner about his ants. I'm glad they brought it back to the ants, because there's a point in the movie where I'm like, I don't think there's going to be any ants in this Ant-Man movie.
They made him the Ant-Man.
They really, really did. I did miss Michael Pena, though. I'm not going to lie. I know that they would probably have had nothing for him to do in this, because it is about the Lang Pym family and their dynamics and everything, but I just miss Michael Pena, man.
Yeah, well, he's busy being a weirdo Scientologist or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. He is. Shit, I forgot. God damn, that's a shame.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of, new characters in the quantum realm, kind of the locals, and they're all a lot of fun.
Yeah, the goo guy is played by David Dash Melton, who played Kurt in the other two films, and the Spot in Suicide Squad.
Oh, that's actually really good. I didn't catch that at first. Oh, I'm glad they found a role for him.
Yeah.
The big barbarian lady whose name escapes me at the moment. She's great. She also gets a lot to do. Yeah. I was shocked in the action scenes and everything else. I'm like, man, she's really involved in this.
Yeah, she's like almost like a third or fourth lead.
She really is. I'm like, shit, is she going to leave with them at the end of this? Is she coming back? Can we see more of her?
I would not be surprised if we do see her in like a later film in like a war against Kang, or like she's leading the quantum realm or something against them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She, of course, ties into the bigger story that is, Cassie's story. And again, very understated. The movie never stopped to say this. I had to like really stop and think about this myself, because, at the beginning of the movie, she's kind of acting up and everything. She has a secret suit she's not telling her dad about. She's getting arrested, which, obviously is a trouble for Scott, because, he's, reminded about his own criminal past and doesn't want his daughter falling down that role. Though, ironically, she also became a Robin Hood-style, morally upstanding criminal, where it's like, yeah, I got arrested at a protest because a bunch of San Francisco cops were, clearing out a homeless encampment. We can't stand up to these evil tyrants who displace people. And what does she do when she gets to the quantum realm? Helps a group of people stop an evil tyrant who was displacing them from their homes.
Yeah. It's great. It's so good.
Yeah, movie doesn't stop and say that, but it does. And also, she ends up MODOK really ends up being more of her villain, which is interesting because they bring back to the fact where it's like, yeah, friggin' Yellow Jacket Corey Stoll tried to kill her when she was like 6 years old, and she's still been carrying that baggage around.
Yeah, yeah, and he of course is kind of like a dickhead.
Hmm.
He's a dick, so like of course he's gonna go and try and kill the child again.
Again, yeah, which I loved what they did with MODOK in this one. I know some people were pissy about him, like, no, MODOK is funny and silly, everyone.
And he looks people like complaining about what he looks like, and he looks like fucking MODOK.
Yeah, he's got a big silly head,
Yeah.
and I love that everyone had a different reaction. Like, oh my god, Darren! What? Oh shit, really? And he like, I was not expecting him to have a weird little redemption arc that he did.
I like that it was a redemption arc, but one that wasn't earned. But that's the point
No,
of his
it's
character. Like he thinks he's earned it, where he really clearly hasn't. And he counts himself as an Avenger and everything because he
yeah.
helped that one time.
You've always been my brother, Scott. Yeah, sure, whatever. But at least I died as an Avenger. Yeah, sure, you can come in. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, that was funny. I mean, the whole quantum realm world really made me feel of like early Jim Henson. Let's just populate this world with as many weird ass creations as possible. And then I was reminded, oh, Jeff Loveness wrote this. Loveness works on Rick and Morty. This is a goddamn Rick and Morty episode, isn't this?
Yeah, Veb, the goo character feels like a Rick and Morty character.
Very much so. There's a lot of like Rick and Morty isms.
Yeah. You got to drink my ooze to understand us.
To understand, right down to friggin', goddamn Hank Pym, who might as well have been Rick. Oh, okay, Scotty. Oh, Scotty, we're going on an adventure. Oh no, Bill Murray fucked my wife. Oh no. Yes, the big Bill Murray part that everyone was like, oh, who could he be playing? What could this be? Hey, he just came in for a funny one-off.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. He didn't need to play anyone.
Yeah,
I like that he was like this guy who was apparently a resistance fighter, and then like got like bribed by Kang, by power and everything.
Got corrupted and turned to the dark side again, which setting up this Kang is kind of like the devil on your shoulder, deceiver guy, offering you power, offering you more time, the only thing that you can never have.
Yeah.
We had the whole, quantum singularity. It was like, well, what happens when you shrink down too small? Well, then you have to deal with all your different possibilities at once, which again feels like a very Jeff Loveness Rick and Morty bit.
It does, yes, yeah.
Only turned up to a Marvel movie where it's like, oh, Paul Rudd has to deal with Paul Rudd, and Baskin Robbins Paul Rudd. That's my favorite joke. I'm not gonna lie. Baskin Robbins Paul Rudd was my favorite joke. Where I'm like, that is just very perfect. What else did we really have going on? Oh, I guess we can talk about, the implications too, because, Kang gives several great speeches, which, are a chance for Majors to show off his acting chops there. And we finally kind of have a better view now of what the hell is going on or will be going on in Phase 5. So Loki broke the timeline, which released all the other variant Kangs, of which apparently this Kang was something of an outsider that the Kang Corps, the Kang Collective, whatever you want to call them, punished by sending him to the quantum realm. But also, this Kang felt that he was the only one who could save them all from the incursions.
Yeah, which it's led to believe that like maybe they are caused by all of the other Kangs, and he thinks that killing all the Kangs, destroying the world, will save the timeline from it all, as well as like the timeline being populated by like Avengers and stuff like that, who inevitably rise up to fight like Kang and Thanos and all of that sort of stuff.
That was the moment too in the theater. I could tell that I was the only like nerd who was really paying attention because I totally was like me for incursions, but no one else did. I'm like, oh, so none of y'all read Secret Wars and none of y'all paid attention at the end of Doctor Strange when him and Clea had to go fight incursions. Okay, I'm the weird one then. All right. Don't hate me because I pay attention to these things. because it's literally my job, because I had to go back and make a podcast and make it entertaining. Which I'm doing now. I hope I'm doing a good job, everyone. ChemDog, I did, Joel. Well, thank you, Chem. I'm glad I can make a show for people like me who also, totally popped at the thought of incursions. And also too, what I was really unexpected, they actually do away with it. Well, seemingly do away with this Kang. They just shrunk him down smaller,
Yeah.
which, as we've seen, getting shrunk down small is not a death sentence in this
Yeah,
universe.
and do realize he got shrunk down into the multiverse engine, so he's probably just been sent to another multiverse.
Yeah. Which you got to wonder, hey, are we going to actually see this version come back later? Because it's very heavily implied that this version wanted to fight the other versions of himself. So that feels like a real, like, late stage, maybe, the second of the two Avengers movies, where it's like, oh, we need an ace in the hole. We need something to stop these other Kangs. And then Scott's like, I know what can help us stop these other Kangs.
Well, I think we saw that the Kang from this film in the final end credit scene.
Oh, did we?
Okay, yes. I reckon it's that Kang.
My screen got a little fucky around this one, but yeah, the big twist at the end is we actually get to see the Council of Kangs, including many from the comics. We got Ramatut, we got Immortus,
yes,
we got some other
Future
ones
Kang, there. Yeah, there's the Monster Face Kang, because it's literally like that comic panel from Avengers 292 or something, where you see them all and it like pulls back to like recreate it. It's pretty cool.
Was Scarlet Centurion there?
Don't think that's so. I have to wait till it comes on like Disney Plus or something.
Right, because there's a couple they'll have to save. They'll have to save Scarlet Centurion, and they'll have to save Iron Lad, because I figured that would be an interesting one too.
Yeah.
Oh, so is ChemDog saying Scarlet Centurion was the other? Okay, fair enough. And also, hey, Victor Timely with Loki and Mobius. Hey, everyone, there's your season 2 of Loki.
Yeah, and I reckon that Victor Timely is the Kang from Ant-Man. Like he's got sent back in time because he's got like time tech and everything, and he's using it as like a magic show sort of thing. And
interesting.
I reckon that it'll be him.
I do love this idea that Jonathan Majors is basically going to get to recreate and reinvent the wheel every time he plays a Kang.
Yeah, he just put a wig on me and like put me in, dress me up like a cybernetic pharaoh and all this sort of stuff. It's great.
Not since Dana Carvey have we ever seen such a master of disguise. really doing his character work. really going for it, Dana Carvey really walked so Jonathan Majors could run in this role.
But it is really interesting that Majors is in this role, because like when you look at Majors, you think, oh, he's going to be like the big heavy, the strong villain who doesn't really do much acting, just like beats up the hero, or does all this really cool shit. But he's a lot of his stuff is just like talking and giving speeches projecting this like air of confidence and everything. It's great.
Which is a lot of what Comic Kang does anyway, because it's look, if I lose, I can just rewind time. I don't have to move fast because I'm gonna move for anybody.
And I think that's not what a lot of people realize about Kang. Kang is just a dude.
Very.
Like, he's propped up by his technology. He doesn't have like superpowers. It's all his technology. So you take that technology away, he's a big dude, but like he's still just a dude. Which is why Ant-Man could fucking beat him at the end.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, we got to talk about Brandon Williams here. Is Ant-Man good? I'm hearing not good reviews. Love the content from you both. Well, thank you, Brandon. There are a lot of mixed reviews. I know this one broke Thursday records at the box office because every new Marvel movie does. But yeah, a lot of people are having a rough time, with it being in the quantum realm. I know like a lot of people are like, oh, this looks like a fucking Spy Kids movie. And the fact that the trailer sells kind of a different version of the movie than actually exists. Because like we said, it's actually much more in line with the first two than you would think, where it is very small. Like the whole big mission for Ant-Man and his family is just, we need to get back together. We need to escape. That's literally the long and short of it.
And also, nowadays, a lot of critics don't really hide the fact that they don't like Marvel movies. Like, just for the fact that they exist and are in cinemas.
Here's the thing. Was this my favorite one? No. Was there a lot of stuff I liked in it? Sure. But yes, there was a lot of critics, you're right, who they had their knives out and ready to go for this. Like, okay, we're done with this now. We're allowed to hate it now. Okay.
Yeah, no, again, like no matter what it would have been, like people would have hated it regardless. Because again, that's the cool thing to do now.
Yeah, there's also a little bit of like, hey, we have a brand new DC slate to look forward to. So, this all sucks in comparison to these movies I've invented in my mind that don't actually exist yet.
Yeah, yep.
But yeah, so like again, the trailer sells a different. I'm glad you mentioned the thing before because this is another like subtle, understated thing I liked about the movie, and that I'll give it all the credit in the world for. The fact that when you take away all their scientific trappings and all their suits and everything, Kang and Scott are ultimately not that different, so much to the point that at the end they have a fist fight because they can't rely on their tools anymore. One is a goddamn time traveling warrior king, one is a schmuck ex-con, and Kang even says so much like, "You control ants,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
what
yeah.
you
And it's
think you
like,
can
what the
stop
fuck can
me?"
you do? And I think so many people missed out on that. Like that's the point of the whole thing of how he's able to beat it because Kang is completely arrogant and just disregard. Oh, it's Ant-Man. He just controls ants. What's he gonna do?
And also, even like original comic Kang, it's like, no, you were like a future schlub who couldn't cut it in your time, so you had to
Yeah,
go back.
yeah, yeah. And bully
But
people who don't have your tech.
yeah, with your unfair advantage is the thing, which, hey, also kind of ties to Hank's thing where he didn't want the Pym particles to be abused, which is why
Mhm.
he didn't want Stark to have it, which is why he walked away. That is kind of a weird theme that exists in all three of the Ant-Man movies,
Yeah,
you know, not corrupting science, and that, you know, science should be for the good of everyone.
yeah.
You know, one person shouldn't get to hoard it. Michael Reese helping us out. Thanks again. Jonathan Majors and Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool 3 at the point are the only things that the MCU I even care about anymore. Man, yeah, when's that going to happen? When are we going to get Majors and Reynolds hanging out together? Because,
Oh
hey,
God.
Deadpool can clearly jump between time. Oh, that's what just Kang shows up. It's like, so I see you've been abusing time, huh? Ripping off my gimmick? That's bullshit. Give it. Give me your time machine. Gimme. Stop going back and rewriting other X-Men movies.
Yeah, to be better.
Not on my watch. Again, someone in the chat using the word cringe to describe Thor 4. Again, I wouldn't even go that far. I would say all of the friggin' Marvel movies at this point, you can really only compare them to each other, is the thing. Do I
Mhm.
think this is the strongest of the Ant-Man movies? In some regards. Again, the action is pretty huge. We get like a big Star Wars style fight scene at the end with, you
Yeah.
know, everyone raiding a big city. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Peyton, who obviously directed a couple of episodes of The Mandalorian, definitely
Mm.
brought like that Star Wars feel. Like when Hank and Janet and Hope go to that city and they see that fucking broccoli dude. Like
Yeah.
that felt like lower levels of Coruscant, sort of, like
Very.
with all the people and everything. And again, I think that's because he directs some like Mandalorian.
Well, I made the Frank Oz comment before, but yeah,
Mm,
it's very Frank Oz, industrial light and magic, Star Wars cantina. How many weird creatures can we throw into this?
yeah, yeah.
And again, there's some great design work going on here. I love Kang's foot soldiers.
Yeah, I like that. They're very stormtroopery in like they're just like faceless sort of thing. I fully believe they're faceless is just so like he can see his own face in their reflection because he's
Uh,
a fucking vain piece of shit.
because he's an egotistical narcissist. Yeah, keep your helmets nice and shiny so I can see myself.
Yeah.
Be Beyond that, honestly, there's not really all that much to talk about in talking about Quantumania because it is very much a what you see is what you get kind of movie. You know, there are some themes, there are some character growth, there's some funny jokes, but I mean, there's really, you know what this is? This is the middle part of a bigger story, and it knows that Loki was the first
Mhm.
part that kicked this off. This is the middle part, and then everything we see after this with Loki season 2 and the big Avengers and everything else, that's going to be the next part of the story. This is a middle child.
Which is really strange because like many of the critics said they complained that it was more of a movie that sets things up than a movie on its own. I'm like, no, that not at all.
It
Like,
couldn't exist without all the stuff that came before. It
yeah,
literally keeps calling back to stuff that happened before. Darren Cross, Janet, what is it? The missing time in the blip and everything. If anything, this is what's so funny about Marvel movies because it really does feel like at times that people are watching and are experiencing two completely different movies.
mhm.
Because my criticism is the exact opposite, that this one can't exist without calling back to everything
Yeah,
else, that it almost can't stand on its own.
yeah, and of course it's part of a larger universe, so of course it has to
Mhm.
plant seeds for things that are going to come down the line.
It's par for the course, but we're fucking 25 movies in.
Yeah, exactly.
You figured you would have got the memo by this point.
Yeah, Jesus.
But again, not everyone is like us. Not everyone likes cataloging things. Not everyone likes having to pay attention
Yeah, that's true.
for little payoffs. But yeah, I mean, Quantumania, I had a good time with it, but then again, I don't get out to see a lot of movies these days anyway. Everything you've heard about Jonathan Majors is true. He's great.
He's
I love Moda.
fantastic.
Thought he was really funny. I think Cassie is going to have a lot of legs in this universe. I think she's definitely sticking around and will probably maybe even lead whatever Young People's Avenger team they make whenever they make that.
Yeah. Do you reckon people are upset that they didn't hint at the Young Avengers?
Maybe. Yeah,
because I remember like a while ago, like a couple of months ago, someone like it was one of those fucking scoopers, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. They said, "Oh, the movie's going to end with like Hope and Scott trapped in the quantum realm."
I thought that's where it was going to go.
Yeah, no, I did too. And then like the movie was going to end with Cassie sort of starting to assemble like the Young Avengers. Yeah, but like that didn't happen.
Which thematically, I mean, even that would have worked too, because her whole thing is like, look, Dad, I don't think you're doing enough as a superhero. I think we could be doing more. And admittedly, this is an interesting thing too, because this whole Ant movie takes place in a time in between crises. So this is literally him just living his life with not much going on.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, you should use this downtime to address social ills and everything. Like, is something that a young hero team could do, a group of young Avengers or champions even.
Well, I get, yeah. That's probably where it's going to go from here, where Scott, or she comes to Scott with that idea, and maybe Scott like ends up being one of their like mentors or something, because he's an Avenger. So yeah, I could see that happening.
Because they definitely planted the seed. She has the suit. She has the powers. Mm-hmm. She's learning to use them. But she also thinks the Avengers could be doing more. In many ways, too, you could tie this even to Falcon and Winter Soldier, because just Scott going about his day-to-day life is very much like Sam just going about his day-to-day life and being like, yeah, it turns out being an Avenger in this world doesn't actually get you that much. Yeah. Free coffee, and that's about it.
Doesn't pay the bills, yeah.
No, you got to write a book. You got to keep doing science and everything, because, yeah, the world actually won't kiss your ass just for being a hero.
Yeah.
which is shockingly realistic and also pretty true to Marvel Comics as well.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's the world outside your window. Yeah, you saved me. Yeah, you blew up that death ray that Dr. Doom had. That'll be $3.50.
Yeah, $12 coffee, yeah.
Yeah, hey, man, I got to work, too. Yeah, I had fun with Ant-Man Quantumania, but I have fun with all of them. Whether or not you think it's good or bad, it's really, to me at this point, it's like, well, where does this, stand in your great ranking of all of these? The ones I've rewatched a lot, the one I'm going to go back to and see again.
I mean, I'm going to go back to it when it comes out on Disney Plus, but I'll probably stave off until like we see more of what's happening in Phase 5, just because I guarantee you there'll be things in this film where it's like, they planted it in there, they planted it there, and it came back.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. I would say is it a fucking knockout of the park like Black Panther Wakanda Forever was? No, because nothing was going to touch Black Panther Wakanda Forever for a while. That one was the perfect storm of shit that all happened at once. Mm-hmm. Hell, I would say that it didn't even take nearly as many crazy, reckless, creative swings as like a Multiverse of Madness or even a Thor Love and Thunder, which again are two movies that I think people are for some reason starting to think like, oh, those are the bad ones. No, they're not. They're just the ones that try the most different things.
Yes, yeah.
In fact, the things that they do different is why I like them so much.
Mm-hmm.
This one, you could argue, plays it kind of safe in many ways.
It does, but I think it needed to. First film of Phase 5, it's got to start setting up stuff for Kang, kind of telling Scott's story, like where he's at after all this big shit that's happened, Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But again, there's a lot to enjoy in this. If you liked the other two Ant-Man movies, I think you're going to like this. Just go in knowing that the trailer doesn't tell the whole story and that it, thematically and, vibe-wise, it actually is a lot closer to the first two Ant-Man movies than you might think. But Majors is great. Majors is almost entirely worth the price of admission just on his own.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I can't wait to see him in Loki Season 2.